Issue 22. So Eggman was vaporized in the previous issue, but instead of keeping up the suspense and trying to have at least some issues without him around, seriously, I'd take 3 of them at this point. Instead, the title card and the title of the very next story spoils his return right away. This is like when Colors tried to have a mystery over whether Eggman was really doing something wrong, only for us to immediately see Orbot and Cubot chasing Wisps in the first cutscene. At least the writing's self-aware rather than genuinely thinking we aren't expecting Eggman to return. Anyways, the first panel is confusing at first, until we see the bottom text blur making it more obvious that these are the future married versions of Sonic and Sally. At first I thought it was the present Sally and she was trying on a tiara, which looks pretty by the way. I'm honestly not sure why she only waits until after Eggman's gone to start wearing a tiara when she's a princess. We also see their children to the west of them trying to play with a toy plane, and they look so much like their parents as kids that for a moment I thought they literally were them and it was a showing of their childhood or something. Sally comments on how quickly the weather has come close to a storm, and Sonic comments on Mobius weather as if it's normal for it to be that fast changing. He's making it sound like he's not from Mobius, not to mention I can't believe the weather is the same way everywhere on Mobius. The sky looks perfectly clear to me, like there's clouds, but it's not like the clouds are dark. It's not like the lighting is getting darker. It doesn't really look like it's stormy at all. Suddenly, lightning strikes in the middle of the day, and the Eggman we all know shows up, because for some reason, Eve's deadly laser beams were fashioned to function as a time machine instead of being deadly lasers. It almost feels like this is the result of executive meddling immediately reeling Pender's back after his first ever solo issue killed off the main villain in its ambitiousness. I'm mostly confused as to why he wasn't fired after that. I mean, it's not like I'm entirely complaining, because I doubt he never made any good issues after this, and those issues would have never existed if he was fired. So it's surprisingly reasonable, I guess, that this is the only punishment. But maybe he was intending this all along, who knows. Sally's daughter saying mommy makes her pretty cute and endearing. Suddenly, Eggman only shows his head as if he's projecting his head in a hologram like in the Fleetway Sonic comic. And when he suddenly vanishes, Sonic's son says that it's the Boogeyman. I kind of understand their children not being told about Eggman because Eggman's rule was such an overly depressing time for Mobius that of course people would want to try and forget about the time and wipe it from the history books, starting with not telling the children about Eggman. Or maybe it's just that Sonic and Sally want to spare the kids the war stories until they're older. I don't think it would be possible to hide evidence of Eggman's influence though, considering, not only did he just literally take over the world, but his technology, people would be adapting his technology to benefit them, and so the entire world would become slightly more advanced. And not to mention people with robot parts, and some of them would want to keep them because it's convenient. Robians? Come on. But still, how the hell does everyone not know who Eggman was? Do they even know what TV and the internet are? I don't think the world would ever forget about him. It's explained that the incredible surge of energy that flashed before King Sonic has been harnessed by an unseen force. Glad they had that in quotation marks because I can't imagine someone like Sonic as a king. Too reckless and youthful and carefree. You imagine a king being more stuck up and dignified, or at least responsible. Apparently, the unseen force that summoned Eggman for his energy was Robo-Robotnik, who Cyborg Sonic hadn't completely destroyed last time for some reason. Why was Eggman acting like that earlier, being normal and then a head and then energy? Is that ever explained? And he's right back to normal forever after this. Robo-Robotnik explains that Eggman will be me, saying that he is what's left of him. You mean a charred pile of ashes? Why would they make him look like Robo-Robotnik if he's not Robo-Robotnik, but the Eggman that's left? He tells Eggman that he's in a world that's an alternate timeline for the Mobius that he knows. You mean it's not the actual future Mobius, but instead a different Mobius altogether that just happens to be also in the future? Why would he say alternate timeline and not just you're in the future of your world? Robo-Robotnik complains that because he had roboticized himself, okay, so he is the same one. So why'd he say he was what was left of Eggman? Because he had roboticized himself, all he can do is just operate the space station's functions until his systems run down, complaining that all is lost. Why the hell didn't he just put his consciousness into something electronic that's not tied to a spaceship forever? Like a separate robot body that can go anywhere, like, I don't know, literally any robot ever made? If he's confined arbitrarily, well actually he never really left his base in the previous issue that he was in, aside from projecting his head in a hologram to the Prime Universe. So I guess this doesn't contradict what happened before. For some reason, Eggman sides with Robo-Robotnik saying never, and encourages him that he'll be fine somehow, even though he just blatantly made it clear that he's doomed. Even though I thought he hated him as a rival for power, now all of a sudden he's on his side just because he reminds him of himself? So far this plot is pretty hard to understand. I'm actively making an effort to try to decipher all this. So imagine how hard this was for the target audience. I'll give it this though, I'm definitely engaged. If only because I'm so confused as hell. He asks how he can get home, actually trusting Robo-Robotnik to do that for some reason. And also for some reason, Robo-Robotnik does exactly what he wants for him instead of destroying him for being a rival to his power. That's convenient. They went from hated enemies to best pals really fast. This is a really fast cleanup job. Meanwhile, the Freedom Fighters are moving around crates of SWATbot parts, presumably for Rotor to use them for invention material. And Rotor warns them that this stuff is still very dangerous. What, is it going to combust if you touch it wrong? I'm not sure why it would be, it's just robot parts. At first I thought this was Eggman having gotten home, but then it turns out suddenly the Freedom Fighters have a pre-recorded message of Eggman's played to them that explains his plan after his death to destroy the world. Because if he can't have it, no one can. So he's like a yandere for the world. So Sonic instructs Sally to hide, much to her annoyance due to her always being annoyed at being treated like she's weak, while he tries to go supersonic for such a vital occasion. At least I thought that's what he would mean since he mentioned supersonic. But then it's mentioned that they need another plan because there's too many of them. So that wasn't Sonic's plan from the start. Why'd he say supersonic? Why would he say, like, a previously established form of his go supersonic if he's not going to go supersonic? I mean, I guess it would feel cheap to have him reveal that he had all 7 Chaos Emeralds and could transform, but still, it would make sense. Some robots shoot at Snively. He shows exactly why the Freedom Fighters should have arrested him, because he just tells them to destroy everything except Robotropolis that's being attacked. Eggman shows up near Snively in a big damn heroes moment. And for once, just once, I actually root for him, as he shoots a SWATbot with an armed laser cannon in a badass way for daring to aim at its master. Why the hell did it? Well, maybe these were specialized SWATbots only made for destroying everything. But you'd expect every robot of Eggman's to have loyalty to and recognition of Robotnik to be hard programmed into them en masse. Like aren't Eggman's robots made in a factory automatically or made by other robots? And so they would have loyalty to Eggman programmed into every single one of them by default, wouldn't they? And yet these robots are only loyal to each other. That's a disaster waiting to happen. I was just about to question how the pre-recorded message and death plan even knew to activate, but then I realized that the base probably has cameras in it that are keeping track of how long Robotnik has spent not in it, or at least cameras that are programmed to send a signal when they see Eggman get destroyed inside the base itself. And that's why the plan knew to carry itself out. Oh! They actually bothered to explain it! Credit to the writers. Apparently, it's somewhat more simple, I guess, than that. Snively had activated the plan by saying the code words, Sonic has finally won it all. Okay, that's an oddly specific, restrained sentence for code words that are only there for activating a plan Eggman absolutely wanted to happen when Sonic would beat him. What I mean is, it would have been so much more likely for the plan to never happen because those specific words, and that specific, precise order, would not be uttered. Were those really the only code words? Also, I'm hoping this incident is what inspired Eggman to scrap the plan. Well, both because Snively has seen the plan carry out and has seen him hit a button, so even if he made the plan happen again later on, Snively and the others would know how to stop it, so why bother? But also, because how else could you explain this plan not activating after Eggman was taken down later? Multiple times. Snively points out that this never would have happened if he had been warned not to ever utter that sentence, basically pointing out a plot hole so that's not a plot hole anymore. I'm pretty sure he would have forgotten it and said it anyways, but whatever. And Eggman breaks the fourth wall by calling himself a supervillain, following rules about that. So I guess he regularly watches TV and models his behavior after supervillains, and explains that the less his minions know, the harder it would be for them to betray him. So he's smart enough to be aware of the possibility that Snively would want to betray him. I didn't know that. That came out of nowhere. Maybe he was worried Snively would actually say those words on purpose just to spite him. I mean, I can imagine that being pretty annoying. Eggman complains that if he keeps letting the plan go on, there will be nothing left for him to rule over. So he presses the convenient button to stop the plan, saying he'll regret it for saving Sonic. Wait, convenient button? There was a button to stop the plan? What? What? So how the hell did Eggman expect his plan to not be stopped? Surely Snively or whatever would have been able to find and press the giant red button with the word abort over it. This also feels like it's such a cheap plot device. Why couldn't Sonic have just gone supersonic like I was expecting him to? Or he wouldn't even need supersonic. He could just destroy awesomely every single robot in a flash without supersonic. Instead, they're all stopped with the anticlimactic press of a button. And Eggman decides that he thinks letting Sonic stew in the knowledge of who saved his life would cripple his ego. Because Sonic's ego can totally be crippled, especially that easily, right? He says that just letting Sonic know that his fate is controlled by him is good enough for him, which just annoys Sonic. Wouldn't Eggman logically be the one who should be a lot more bothered by this? That he's responsible for letting his mortal enemy live, and everything Sonic will do after this point is thanks to him. And besides, there's no way Sonic would have been killed in this if Eggman hadn't intervened. If anything, it's the other freedom fighters who are much more likely to have gotten killed. But somehow that thought doesn't cross anyone's mind. Sonic can easily destroy swap bots by the dozens. There's absolutely no risk whatsoever for him. It's the rest of his friends that were saved. It's the rest of his friends that we have to worry about anytime something dangerous happens, not him, not Sonic. But I guess it is in the habit of Eggman to only consider Sonic. Because he's right. At least right now, only Sonic's a threat to him. Well, him and Bunny. Tails, I believe, is even more powerful, since he can run at speed of sound. Well, logically he would be able to. He did in Sonic 2. And he can fly. So he should be able to do all the speed-related stuff for fighting that Sonic can do. But because he doesn't know it yet, he isn't a threat because he doesn't know his full potential. Also, I was about to compliment this issue on being the first non-special issue to dedicate an entire issue to his main story instead of robbing it of pages with pointless filler. But never mind, Tails gets a bedtime story because he's just a stupid kid apparently. There's really nothing to say about this. It's just filler that talks down to Tails. It's nice to Sally be the one to take the time to read a story to him, but I can't help but wonder why she wants to bother. It sure isn't needed. The story was written by Ken Penders and the second by Angelo. In the first story, I'm glad I read it to get a resolution when it happened earlier. But honestly, I didn't get one, because there was no attempt at an explanation for why Eggman was teleported forwards in time and wasn't actually vaporized. It really feels like an ass-pull change at the last moment to avoid killing him off. And it feels so underwhelming having his absence be completely wasted story-wise by having him show up immediately afterwards. It's interesting the concept that Eggman will make a plan to destroy the world after he dies. It's in character for him, so I like that concept. I mean, the premise of the story is interesting. I like the concept of the story, but the beginning of it was really confusing and arbitrary, and the ending was too anticlimactic for what it was built up to. We were building up to an awesome battle against all of the army, and they just get shut down. And it's not like the story is made up of plot holes like a lot of these stories, but I can't but feel disappointed. Struggling to think of big problem. I guess the really big problem I have with it is that the whole army was stopped by an anticlimactic push of a button rather than giving Sonic a chance to go supersonic and ultimately destroy all of it himself. Why the hell was that button even made to begin with when it would only guarantee that if Eggman really was destroyed, his plan would never get to be finished? And why the hell didn't Snively find it? Looks pretty obvious to me. It's not like Eggman had to type down a secret code to open a hatch that would reveal the button. Also a huge problem is that Robotnik and Enemy are apparently best buddies now and help each other out instead of being bitter enemies. And also there's absolutely no attempt at an explanation for why Robotnik wasn't destroyed by Cybersonic when all that was left of him was a head. And Eggman had no reason to think he was saving Sonic's life, and not the freedom fighters that can't effortlessly destroy swap bots by the dozens. I mean, I can think that maybe Robotnik just wanted to get rid of Eggman, and maybe he thought that because he can only operate the space station, that's all he can do, that he can't kill Eggman. So either he could send him to his dimension again with a transporter that he conveniently has, or he could just have Eggman there whining, and so he has to send him away. But still, whether he felt forced or not, why was Eggman trusting him? Why was he friendly to him all of a sudden? Overall, I just found this disappointing, but at least I read it,